What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Vikings Now. I'm your host for today's show, Patrick Seatman. On today's show, we're going to be going over a Lewis Cine injury update that we got from Minnesota Vikings OTAs. They're going on, started yesterday. They're going to be going on over the next couple of weeks. Then we also have a pretty big update on DeAndre Hopkins, and he may be cut by the Arizona Cardinals. I'll be discussing how he may fit in with the Minnesota Vikings and what the chances are if D-Hop could end up actually being a Viking. Guys, but first, we started this sub-battle with our Lions channel yesterday. They got the early lead. They got us beat by 6 subs. So I'm asking you guys, help us out. Help us reach 13,000 subscribers here on the channel. It's a quick, easy, and free way to help us here at Chat Sports. We just want this channel to get out to more and more Vikings fans, and this is a pretty easy way to do it. So go down there, help us beat the Lions Talk channel in our sub battle. Go down there, hit that sub button. Now let's talk about it. The latest around Lewis Cine. Obviously, Lewis Cine was hurt in the London game last year versus the New Orleans Saints, but he was back and he was active at OTAs for the Minnesota Vikings, and he looked pretty good. A Vikings beat reporter, Will Ragatz, who does some work for Sports Illustrated, had this to say about Lewis Cine. He said one big standout is that second-year safety, Lewis Cine, continues to look great. Less than 8 months after suffering a compound fracture of his left leg in London, the second-year safety out of Georgia appears to be moving at very close to 100%. He carried on to say that's huge for the Vikings, who are undoubtedly hoping for the 2022 first-round pick seizes a starting job at safety alongside Harrison Smith this season. And I do think that breakout could be coming for Lewis Cine, because the Vikings defense last year obviously was not good. One of the worst defenses in the league, and getting a guy like Lewis Cine back could be huge for this team. You know, you do have that veteran safety presence, like Will mentioned, in Harrison Smith, who could be a great way to kind of mentor the younger guys like a Cam Bynum that we saw come in, but then especially a guy like Lewis Cine. And guys, if we remember in college, this guy was an absolute dog. I mean, if you threw on his highlight tape, he was hitting, he was coming down in the box, and he was that true box safety, but he could really play everywhere. 144 tackles in his college career, 14 pass breakups. He did have 2 interceptions with 3.5 TFLs. He is not scared to get in the box and play well in the run game. And he's got that same versatility that even Harrison Smith had when he was coming out of Notre Dame. And I do want to make this point about the Vikings safety room. Cam Bynum. I was a big fan of him before the start of last season. I thought maybe the corner out of Colorado who shifted to safety could have a big year for the Minnesota Vikings, and he just didn't do that. He was pretty bad last season. He really took that step back. So maybe Cam Bynum could actually be moving back to corner, what he played in college, and let Lewis Cine and let Harrison Smith and even a Josh Metellus kind of be the three-headed dragon at that safety position for the Minnesota Vikings. But overall, it is a great Lewis Cine injury update. He looks good. He's damn near at 100%, and that's a big reason for the Vikings defense to potentially improve this next season. But guys, show some love to Lewis Cine down in the comments section. I mean, his rookie year, he has a compound leg injury or leg fracture, and then he's back 8 months later, almost at 100% already at OTAs. I just love to see it. Give me a 6 down in the comment section. Show him some love, because honestly, his story, his fight just really fires me up. But I do want to talk about the Vikings defense here for a second, because obviously we know the numbers. We know how poor they were in this past season. But I do think there is a chance for a turnaround for the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, last in almost every statistical category, and they were one of the main reasons why the Vikings lost in the first playoff game to the New York Giants. So I got 5 reasons why I think this Vikings defense could be improving in next season. First off, you signed Byron Murphy, the corner out of the Arizona Cardinals. It was either him or Cam Sutton as the top 2 free agent corners out in the market. The Vikings landed him. He fits well with Brian Flores' system. He can get up, play press man, drop back in the zone coverage, whatever it may be. Then they also did bring in Marcus Davenport, who I am a big fan of. And at OTAs yesterday, he was rocking the number 0 jersey. Pretty weird seeing an edge rusher rocking number 0, but I don't care. He looks great. He's got that first-round talent. It's just going to come down to him staying healthy and be able to hit that production level of a first-round pick. But I'm optimistic, and I'm excited to watch Davenport in the purple and gold. Like I mentioned, the hiring of Brian Flores, I feel like NFL fans and just NFL media are kind of just, I don't know if discrediting is the word, but maybe undervaluing the hire of Brian Flores. Because I'm looking at this Vikings coaching staff. You legitimately have two really solid head coaches in the NFL on this roster. Kevin O'Connell, I think he's going to be a good coach in the league. He's already proved it last season. Then Brian Flores, another guy who has won many, many games in the NFL. I think just him being in there, the defensive mind that he is, will automatically make this defense better. And then we got three guys, the second-year guys coming back healthy. Cine, Caleb Evans, and Booth. I've been talking about these guys all offseason long. I am super excited to see these guys back in the purple and gold, and they could really help this secondary take that next step because these are young, hungry athletes that should be able to show out under Brian Flores. And then my man, Brian Asamoah, I think the breakout is coming. He's got that super, super quick twitch and that burst at the linebacker position that you really need in the modern-day archetype linebacker. You know, we're not really seeing the old-school Lance Briggs, you know, the old-school Brian Urlachers, or these guys are like 6'2", 250. We're seeing more of these guys that are 6'2", 235, 240, but that run 4.45 40s just like Brian Asamoah, third-rounder out of Oklahoma. But I'll toss it your guys' way. I am expecting the defense to improve. But let me know, do you think the Vikings will have a top 15 defense in the NFL next season? Give me a Y for yes, or give me an N for no down in the comments section. Man, if the Vikings have a top 15 defense, they're going to win a lot of games, and they're going to do a lot of damage in the NFL. But now let's talk about the latest around DeAndre Hopkins. There's a report coming out of Arizona that D-Hop could potentially be cut in this upcoming year. DeAndre Hopkins, he did not show up to the Cardinals' voluntary workouts, which makes sense. Obviously, he requested a trade. Don't expect him to be there throughout the entire offseason. And then PFT, they put out a report that said the Cardinals could just flat out cut DeAndre Hopkins post-June 1st. I don't really think they would do that, but, you know, it does make sense. There is that possibility. And then Hopkins obviously still carries that $30.8 million cap hit in this upcoming year. But D-Hop was actually on a podcast with Brandon Marshall, I Am Athlete, and he had three things that he kind of said he wants in the next team that he goes to. He also listed a bunch of quarterbacks that he would like to play for. He kind of gave a chalk answer as like the Mahomes, Allens, Herberts, Jalen Hurts, a bunch of obviously the top 6 quarterbacks-ish in the league. But he said he wants stable management. I think the Vikings check that box. QB who loves the game. Man, I hope Kirk checks that box as well. I would assume so. But then the great defense. That's what D-Hop said. And yeah, well, we all know the Vikings just don't really have a great defense. So again, D-Hop, he wants those three things, but the Vikings don't really check the third box. That's what he said on what he wants in a team. But again, he doesn't really control where he could get traded to. And I do think if the Vikings were to make a move like this, it would be pretty exciting. And DeAndre Hopkins would add a lot of juice to that wide receiver room. But I mean, D-Hop, even last year, he was suspended due to PEDs, and he still put up great numbers, man. I mean, just over 700 yards in 9 games. He would have, if he played all 17, that would have been around 1,300 yards with damn near over 100 catches and 6 touchdowns. I still think D-Hop is a top 10 receiver in the NFL. He still gets it done, especially if you would pair him up next to a Jefferson and an Addison. I would absolutely love it. But would you trade for DeAndre Hopkins? Maybe it only goes for a 5th-round pick, let's say, right now. You know, the reports of them possibly cutting him, who knows? Give me a T for trade. Give me a P for pass down in the comments. I would pass on, obviously, trading for DeAndre Hopkins. I just don't really think it's a need for the Minnesota Vikings. I do think, however, though, if he is cut, that's a totally different story. Obviously, I would love to bring in DeAndre Hopkins if he is cut. But if you're going to trade, the Vikings already have a limited draft capital for this upcoming year. I just wouldn't want to move anything. And plus, you would be taking on his massive cap hit. But if he's cut, that's a different story. You can work out a deal where maybe his cap hit for this next season is not as high as it would be already at that $30.8 million. But this Vikings wide receiver room, I mean, I couldn't really even imagine if you would add a DeAndre Hopkins to him. Jefferson, best wide receiver in the league. Jordan Addison, going to be the best wide receiver 2 in the league in a couple years. KJ, probably my favorite wide receiver 3 in the league. I mean, I absolutely love this wide receiver group, and I would just absolutely love if they would add a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. I do think they would have a chance to be the best wide receiver group in the NFL. I mean, Jefferson, D-Hop, and Addison. Good luck, other teams' corners. I mean, if you are actually a corner and you're going through your whole week of practice and you see the Vikings scouting report, and you got to be like, all right, we got to deal with 18. We got to deal with number 10 and D-Hop. Then we also got to deal with number 3, Jordan Addison. They're all elite route runners, and plus pair that up with a TJ Hawkinson. I don't know. It would be a lot of fun. Most likely not going to happen, but who knows? We got to talk about it. DeAndre Hopkins. Doubt he gets cut from the Cardinals, but if he is, who knows? Maybe the Vikings could potentially bring him in, creating probably one of the best wide receiver rooms of all time, frankly. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll keep you guys posted with all Vikings news, rumors, whatever it may be. Make sure you subscribe. See you guys next time. Skol Vikes.